Parliament Raven, and this is the Parliament Speaks. Parliament, welcome. I'm the Parliament Raven. Usually I do these podcasts about scripture, nerdy things, neuroscience, and engaging the Christian walk through quests and coaching methodologies. But sometimes I want to do things different. Sometimes I want to pull a Parliament member up to the table. And today, that's where the Parliament Speaks begins. To kick things off, my friend and compatriot in these endeavors, Mar White, is on, and we decided to turn the cameras on and just be candid. We questioned each other, we got vulnerable, and we talked about how our journeys through creating has impacted our lives and our walks with God. So I hope you find this as engaging and as helpful as I did. So pull up a seat, pour yourself a cup of tea, and let's dive right in.
You know what? I would agree with you 5 years ago.
Yeah.
In 7th and 8th grade, a lot of kids wanted to be YouTubers.
I still get it.
Some, but not as many. Because I do an assignment where it's about your career, and I tell them that there's no money in YouTube. And I'm just like, they're like, what? I said, no, that's not where the money's at. I said, unless you're in the top 20, you're not getting enough to even survive. I said, the average YouTuber makes $300 a month if they're popular enough. And I
think you're thinking about earning money from YouTube versus like having a business that you can, for example.
Right. There's a difference, yeah. Right? So, but a kid thinks.
Kids, yes.
Right. There's more kids that want to be Twitch stars, though.
Oh, yes.
There's way more
streamers.
Kids want to be live streamers.
Yeah.
And actually, I follow a young live streamer, but I see the clips of his videos on Facebook. He's a Christian that I follow. And I do that on purpose because I want to see what he does and how the people, he's way younger than me. So
yeah, you're keeping your pulse.
I'm trying to pulse. I'm just like, I can't do what that guy does.
Does that bug you or?
No, but.
Or you're just inspired by watching it?
It teaches me, we forget that when we were younger, we watched people do stuff. And now that we're older, we can still do that, but in reverse. We watch the young who are progressing quicker than us do stuff.
Especially through media.
They're so far ahead of us.
Yeah.
Well, they're trending. They're the ones who know how to trend. They're the ones who cause trends.
Yeah, there's something about that. There's a mix, because have you ever heard of clip farm?
No.
Clip farming?
Is that the ones where people farm clips and do video whole...
From my understanding, there
channels that are not them. It's just other clips. Yes, there's a whole business. It's supposed to be a multi-million-dollar business.
It's huge. So yeah, if, for example, let's say I ran a clip farm company and I liked your video, I can just take it and put it into my area and it just goes crazy. But that same company, that brand, also targets specific people that want that attention. So they'll go to specific people and say, hey, I own 20 clip farms or whatever, and we can make you popular overnight. So yeah, it is a whole entire business. So Jason, I've been dying to have this conversation with you. I've been wanting, I think I mentioned to you earlier, wanting to connect with men that are godly and have a deeper understanding walking with Christ. And the reason for that was I am a Christian. Sorry. I am a Christian. And what I mean by the was part was there was a part of me that was more religious. I would go through the motions. Mom asked me to go to church. I got baptized at a young age. I had a spiritual understanding. A lot of things happened to me when I was younger. And I was like, okay, there's some existence. But it wasn't until within the last 4 or 5 years where the relationship has gone deeper. And it's hard to connect with people when you're sitting down, hanging out with whatever sex, male or female, and all they do is complain. all they do is see the circumstances that they're living in. All they do is chase something that's fulfilling them for the here or fulfilling a certain part of them. But it's been hard to connect with people and just like not want to help them from a spiritual level, because I experienced it and I'm just like, dude, I just want to tell you, you don't need to people please. You don't need to chase the money. You don't need this over here. You just, as you get right here, all the other things happen and they slowly fall into place.
I think people forget that it's a journey. And I think as you get older, there is a switching in mindset. You're headed towards marriage, and that gives you more to lose. And the more you have to lose, the deeper you'll go on certain things, where it be spiritually, mentally, physically. And you have to remember that people have to be ready to go there. So I had the opportunity in my early 30s, late 20s to get my counseling degree rather than go into coaching. And
what's a counseling degree?
Marriage and family therapy counseling. So you could get a degree in how to counsel people, their marriages. And
first, you did that before your actual educational degree?
I don't really have an educational degree. I have a degree in communications. I have a master's in divinity, which is in a broad scope of theology, which I focus on Hebraic and Jewish history, so that I could understand the Jewishness of Jesus. And looking at Jesus through that eye is completely different than what you get from most pulpits. But during that time, I also was dual enrolled as working on a marriage and family therapy. And I found that a lot of the repeat customers for a counselor is people not listening to good advice because they're not ready to listen to good advice. Mm-hmm. So people don't grow until they get to a point where they get frustrated with what they want to do or who they want to be, and then they're ready to move. So when I accept somebody into coaching, I won't coach them if they're not ready to move. And it's really easy to discern that, because when they come to you to speak, are they there to have questions asked of them or to just tell you? If you can ask a question of them and they can respond, and you can keep asking questions without them getting frustrated, there's more apt for them to be coachable, because as you ask questions, it unveils the change that they want until they get to the point where, okay, I see that.
So that you got this in your counseling degree. You started, this is where.
No, I got that outside of my counseling degree. My counseling degree is to just continually attack it until they finally, either they break or they come to the point where they can understand that they have to do the work.
Right.
And that's not always the case.
You said something about good advice. And I think to a lot of people, I'm assuming when you hear that good advice, that's very subjective to some people. So what do you mean by good advice when they're ready for good advice?
Good advice is advice that builds you. Just like there's truth, there's good advice and there's bad advice. Bad advice would be you just had a death in the family and you're struggling with that grief and you're like, I'm going to move and buy a house. Bad advice would be like, yeah, do it. Good advice is, why don't you grieve for a bit and figure out where you're at before you make a major decision? So good advice is advice that's going to build the person. It's going to set you on your journey. It's like giving somebody equipment. But what's even better is giving them a good question. It took me years to get to that point. So not giving advice, but asking the question so they can get to the good advice comes from within, right? That they can answer the question and know what to do. Because if you just give good advice, people can just, well, that's just you. They can put it off or put it aside. So the goal of a coach, or even a good pastor, would be to ask the right questions. And the better the question, the deeper a person can go to find where the wisdom they need to find. And you can direct that, right? You can give information, you can give worksheets that help them ask the question, set up a pathway for them of self-discovery, because the things that stick the most are the things we discover ourselves. So a good example is yourself. You're on this journey as you're headed towards marriage, and you have started studying certain things that have opened up paths and brought you healing that you've got through self-discovery of going along these paths. And marriage was the pathway, preparing for marriage is the pathway that led you to that vice that's causing the change, and you feel not only stronger, but you feel more identity, and you feel like you're becoming the man you always meant to be. And that's the journey that we're looking for. We're looking for that through advice to put us on a good path, and good questions that lead us down that path. Because without those questions, and you'll just slide back. You're just like, that looks kind of cool over there, but I see like a thorny bush that I might have to walk through, so I'm going to stick to this thing that I already know over here.
Yeah, what you're already familiar with. That actually, speaking of questions, I know I haven't started, but I put a list of questions here for you that in following your journey and seeing, and as you had mentioned, I am preparing myself for marriage. So there are things that I had to ask myself great questions to uncover certain things. Some of them were wounds. A huge wound of mine was my distance in a relationship that I have with men, because of the father wound that I had with my own father, and all the men in my life only knew what they knew. So I wanted to ask you, where are you at as a man? In life, in anything, where are you as a man?
I would say that I've come to a place where I understand what a man is, because I think we can both relate about that fatherly wound. And not to dishonor my father or anything, but he wasn't around a lot when I was younger. And when he was around, his advice wasn't the best advice. And I remember when I told him I wanted to go into ministry, I just found him. I hadn't seen my dad since I had graduated high school. Wow. And it was, I think, like 6 or 7 years later. And I told him, I was on the phone with him, and I told him I wanted to go to seminary, his response, well, there's no money in that. He's very supportive now. He's kind of mellowed out, but not having him around, and then that was the response, kind of leaves a hole. And it took, I would like to say I got through it quickly, but it took around 40 years of living my 40 years plus to come to a place where I found the identity of what it was to be a man. I could put on a good show, and I was at if you listen to my podcast, you hear about this coach called Dan Tacchini. He's a Christian guy. He has a great story. But I was at his event, and I came to this point where I understood that I had value despite my parents.
Yep.
And I don't know if it's with all Hispanics, but we're compared constantly when growing up. At least I was. And most of my journey of my life was looking for approval by men I respected.
Right.
And coming to the point where that bled into all my relationships.
Right.
So it would be me talking about I have a lot of knowledge. I would just talk about it for no reason at all other than hey, like, I'm looking for approval. And being on this side of it, I don't as much. I kind of sit and listen, and I only add on if I feel like I'm going to add to something, or if I'm invited into the conversation. I rather just sit with my cup of tea and listen sometimes. Mm-hmm. But as a man, it took me a while. Marriage and kids definitely helped with that. It helped mature me a lot. I think that people don't realize that there is this change that we have in marriage. There's like something switches in the brain, something switches in the spirit. And then again, after you have a child, something switches in the brain and switches in the spirit that matures you and kind of separates you from people who don't. Not to denigrate or push again, but there is an immaturity when you don't have that. You can be married without kids, and there's much more of a selfish attitude than the couples who end up having kids. And not for everybody, this is just from my experience.
What do you think happened in your circumstance?
Definitely learning to put the kids first definitely grew me up differently. Things that were mine and things that I liked became less important because I needed to protect not only my kids and my family, but I needed to provide for them in a different way. Now, was it an easy process? No. Was there a lot of arguments? Absolutely. Where there's a lot of rough spots with the kids? Sure, but that's life. And that grows us up too. I think part of us as men is that we forget that we need these things in life, these moments, these ends of quests that mature us. Coming of age ceremony, we don't have that anymore. We should definitely need that coming of age ceremony.
Why?
There's something that a young man gets from knowing that he is now going to be treated like a young man.
But like at 21, when we party, drink, do all that type of
No,
stuff, that's a difference. I'm just saying that's what typical today.
Well, think of the Jewish culture, and they have bat mitzvahs and bar mitzvahs. Now you're officially an adult. You can sit at the adult table. You can't speak, but you can sit and be amongst the adults and listen to the wisdom and gain wisdom and ask questions.
I see what you're saying here.
Right? We don't have that anymore. We just say, okay, now we expect you to be an adult. Well, I haven't been an adult my whole life.
You got a driver's license.
That I don't. Okay, everybody can get it. Anybody.
No, but you know what I mean.
Right?
You get the license. You have a drive. Go get a job. Boom.
Well, the identity where you imposter syndrome.
Oh yeah,
imposter syndrome comes from the whole concept that you're pretending to be something you're not.
Right.
And most people don't feel like adults. They feel like they're pretending. The biggest imposter syndrome in all of America is us believing that we're an adult. Because no one's told us we're an adult. You're just like, okay, now we're expecting you to adult. You graduate high school. Now you're expected to an adult. Well, what does that mean?
Yeah. I understand what you're saying.
Right. So,
yeah, that's definitely something that happened. My life was shattered with understanding, like I'm told the entire time, but then when you're getting married and then your fiance is brought up a certain way and she asks you things like, oh, what do you do for your taxes? What do you do for your finances? What do you do for this? Have you ever thought about this? Do you do the trust? What are your structures there? I have friends that are in this way and doing these things. And I'm like, and then here is the hard part. Either I lie and pretend some more, or I just like completely surrender. And that's what I've had to do. I'm like, I'm surrendering. Actually, I'm pretty bad at these areas. Here's an area that I'm bad at. Here's some stuff that I understand. Here's some things that I don't know, but I would love to grow with you. Take me, it is. And then take me how I am, or I can understand why you would not want this, you know?
That's a testing of a relationship. But all right, so I do have some questions for you. This can't be you just ask me stuff.
I know, I can't help it. It's a safety thing.
I know. So let me pull the rug out from under you. Yeah. Let me ask my first question. What part of your story that most people don't know but shaped you to becoming who you are today?
When actually, that is the only question I read from what you had sent me, and I'm glad now that you say that, because the answer that I thought of was, there are so many stories in my life that I can recall that have transformed me. A big one is the story that a lot of close friends know. I didn't grow up with a biological father. I'm not crying, just got something stuck in my throat. I didn't grow up with a biological father, and I met him twice. Once when I was like 3 years old. That memory stuck with me. I remember walking down the street and my mom was well dressed and she was going to work and she wanted to just take me out. As a kid, we walked by this old guy and she tells me to stop. And I'm like, why are we stopping? I'm a kid. So she's like, this is your dad. At the time, I don't know what that was. I've spent 3 years of my life with my mom. I had no idea what a dad is. And then she goes to work and he takes me home. And now I'm like, I don't know the conversation. I'm 3. I don't know what that kind of conversation is. But I remember asking him, do not leave because I'm going to go use the restroom. And then when I go to the restroom, I come out and he's gone. That stuck with me. When I look at 3-year-olds now, I'm like, you won't remember me. But for some reason, I remember that. So that was one huge. And then if I was to jump into another moment that has changed my life is when I got kicked out of my house. At 17, I've never publicly shared this, and I don't want to put down my stepfather. My stepfather, he's done what he's been able to do because that's what he's been able to do. He has a certain amount of knowledge, he has a certain amount of history, and I can now understand why people that walk the life of Christ say you need to forgive. And I've forgiven my stepfather. There are times where we still fight. I'm sharing context because what I'm about to say, I don't know if it'll ever get out publicly. I don't want it to look bad on him, but he hurt my mom, not physically, but emotionally. And he left the house, and it was me, my mom, my grandma, my brother, sister, and we lived in this house. And I was the only one in that house that believed that he was going to come back. And I was like, dude, like, do not talk negative about this individual, he's going to come back. And I remember sitting in the car with him, and he kind of like shares with me a photo when he's like, "Hey, this is my friend." And I don't want to get into too much detail, but I'm like, "What the heck?" And then come to find out, he cheated on my mom, and that kind of left some sort of mental impression in me. And he was never there when you see your mom crying, working hard, busting her ass, and then just like she's just broken. And if you know her story, it's even crazier. Came from Mexico. No one knows that she snuck underneath the car. And my real father was the coyote that snuck her over. And then he fell in love with her. And then they had me. And then I was born. And then that fast forward, she meets this man. And then I'm thinking, wow, this is an actual dad that I'm going to have, grow up, life. And then you see husband and wife fight, and that goes into another huge topic. But that once he came back, I was like, how can you forgive this dude? And by this time I knew of God, but I didn't understand God. I didn't understand him like how my parents do or how my mom does. But I was like, how can you let this dude come back? Like, what the hell? I was so pissed, and I distanced myself with him. We tried communicating, but he would always talk down on me. And I didn't know he was going through his own struggles. Now that I'm older, I can freaking understand what kind of struggles he was going through. He was trying to be a man, trying to provide for this wife that couldn't understand English, taking care of her son, but he's got to take care of the house, and he's got to go to work, and he's got his own boss, and then he's got his own dad baggage. So here he is trying to figure it all out. And mom's like, don't treat my son this way. Don't do that. So everything that he was doing was like bad, quote unquote, to my mom's understanding potentially. And fast forward, I get kicked out. I remember walking into the room. My dad's like, pick up your stuff. You're not going to live here anymore. And I was like, what? Like, I just spent the night at my best friend's house. He's like, you didn't tell us. You broke our rules. You're not going to live here anymore. I think what they were trying to do is like, hey, we're going to scare you a little bit. But I picked up my stuff, packed up, and I left. I was gone for 2 years. And from 17, 18, 19, I came back at 19. Came back at 19 with a thirst of literal hunger because it was hard.
Mm-hmm.
And that changed my life. So being kicked out, living on my own, smoking, drinking, partying, when I came back, I remember reading The Prodigal Son. Oh my God, that like broke me, dude. And so that was a point. And I know I went fast, but I'm trying to get through most of it so I don't take up a lot of time. And then I was in a relationship for a really long time. I was in several relationships, but there was 3 that really kind of transformed me as a human being. And the last one was like probably the kicker, where I'm like, I can't be a piece of shit anymore. There's got to be something I'm doing wrong. I changed even more. I was already transforming in that relationship because I was spending the most time in that relationship. And finally, as I was getting closer to being a better person, I did something wrong. I hurt the individual, and I owned up to it, and I ended up didn't work out, and that's okay. And that forced me to surrender even further. And that's where my journey's changed completely. Now my newest one is now I'm getting married. And that marriage journey has unveiled so much. I don't think I've ever been as open as I am with a person and that can accept me.
Well, I think part of that is you're able to accept yourself.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And the more we're able to, as men, accept ourselves and accept the identity of who we are, our mistakes, the more we're able to share that with somebody significant.
Yeah.
Including brothers, which is much harder in a society today when you're not raised with brotherhood. Right? So part of that disconnect with men is that we don't have fathers showing what brotherhood looked like. Right? We have plenty of history. We have great movies that show that, but it seems like it's fantasy because it's not that way anymore.
Yeah.
So, yeah, man.
Thank you for asking. By the way, I really appreciate just having that space to just share that type of stuff. Where are you now as a man, but a man of Christ?
Where am I as a man of Christ? I look at my walk with Jesus outside of what we understand contemporary Christianity is. So we understand contemporary Christianity as going to church, doing a Wednesday Bible study, being there on Sunday, maybe doing a men's ministry, being there for a football game. But my understanding of the Christian walk is something that is to be done everywhere. And being that as it may, then all the things I just said are important, but not as important as it was when I thought it was as when I was younger. Right? I find stuff like this to be far more fulfilling spiritually than a Sunday meeting where somebody's giving me a message or a Wednesday worship service. Yes, those are great. I love worship. Don't get me wrong. And I love hearing somebody speak from the pulpit when it's good. And I phrase it when it's good because we have so many people that are not good. I hate to say that, but are not good talking in the pulpit. So for me today, for instance, working with the Jewish caucus for teachers, that's me in my Christian walk, talking to people in my community who aren't Christians and spending time with them, whether they know I'm Christian or not. I don't have to blazon it upon my shirt. I don't have to have a bumper sticker on my car like in my 20s for people to know that I'm a Christian. I want my walk to dictate that. And sometimes it's a shocking surprise. And sometimes they go, oh, I knew all along. You just, and not to, I'm glad you confirmed it. I get that a lot too, right? So for me, the walk should be integrated in everything I do, whether it be playing video games, whether it be on podcast or recording, or whether it be teaching, whether it be coaching. That's going to be there. Am I going to beat you over the head with it? Am I going to throw a verse at you every day? Absolutely not, because my life should shine and show until you go, well, what's different? And as a man, if we stand in courage and we build up a good reputation, people will wonder why our lives shine the way they shine rather than try to force the issue. And when we force the issue, people turn away because nobody wants to be beat down and no man wants to be told what to do. Mm-hmm. They want to seek out the journey themselves. And if your journey looks awesome, I'm going to seek you out and go, why is your journey so awesome?
Yeah.
Right. And so I think there is a group of men today in Christianity who are doing that. And I think definitely you're showing that as you progress. It's not everybody who I talk to every day, Christian men who I talk to every day don't always go, this is what I'm learning, or this is what's impacting me. And I think that also is something that rises up as you learn something new. We want to share it. But if you're not doing anything new, if you're just doing the regular run of the mill thing, like going to church on Sunday. Well, okay. Well, what's new about that? Oh, nothing. It was another good service. Yeah. I'm going to a small group. Well, what did you learn from that? Oh, we just went over what we learned in the sermon.
Yeah.
Are we really growing as Christians, or are we just being comfortable?
Yeah.
I think as a Christian man, we're supposed to live in a constant state of being uncomfortable because that's where we grow.
Yeah.
And a lot of Christian men don't like to hear that and really don't want to be uncomfortable. Our whole lives is building up being comfortable.
Yeah, to get to a point where you build yourself and you're comfortable.
Yeah. And you're comfortable.
Yeah. There is a shift. I don't know if you've been feeling this, but I think in this world, there's a huge shift that I sense. And I don't know what it is. I can't put my thumb on it, but the economy is changing, the technology is changing, the people in power are changing, a lot of uncoverings happening, a lot of wars happening, a lot of algorithms for everything. So it's when you're a man of God, you can't be dumb. You have to know that this revolving, all these things, all these areas are revolving, but there's a one truth that you need to stand by. So it doesn't matter if I go to, this is just going to be an example. If I go to a place and they're telling me, hey, my media, everything on my media is saying where your area is crap. And then I go to my regular area and I'm looking at my media, and all my media is telling me that their area is crap. And then it's like these two medias.
Well, here's how I would compare that. There's some great videos out there where Chat GPT agrees with everything a person says. Where there's some Muslim women out there where like, see, Chat GPT says that Muhammad is the way and Allah's the way. And then you go, there's videos of Christians going, see, my Chat GPT says Christian. We have to remember the algorithm is there to echo you, to keep you coming back.
Yeah.
If all it's going to give you is the same thing over and over again, then you're just in an echo chamber. If you were to look at my Facebook, it is not that. The people I follow on Facebook are from everywhere. It's not going to, and when the algorithm starts to lean me too much in one direction, I will mute people for 30 days to shift my algorithm back to such of a middle place that I'm hearing from everybody. And that's not a normal algorithm. It's really hard to get your algorithm curtailed. You have to be on it, because otherwise you're just going to hear the same thing over and over and over again that you want to hear.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what keeps people flicking
mm-hmm.
the screen.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Right.
Correct.
It's part of that consumer culture. It's like having people who want a Diet Coke continue having a Diet Coke, or people who want to eat cake with every meal having cake every meal. So, all right, now I'm going to throw another question at you. Let's see. What do we got here? What's one lesson you learned the hard way that you're grateful for?
Oh my gosh, dude, these questions are like, I think a human being has too many lessons that they learn. Every day I'm learning a lesson.
But I'm looking for something you learned the hard way. So for me, like something that you bumped your head up against the wall so many times.
Relationships.
Okay.
That is having relationships. That is, and maintaining a relationship. And what's a relationship? I've lost client relationships, friendships, intimacy, and I can look back at all those and remember where I was seeking just me, and where I was mostly about what's this and why is it, what is it in this for me? That was big.
Okay.
Where the hard, like, the one that stands out are just intimate relationships and friendships, because you grow a cold soul, you grow a cold heart, you become bitter, you could become judgmental, and then you can succumb to that victim mentality very easily, and then you're filled with this algorithm that can echo that really easily, and then you can go throughout the whole world not trusting. So I think for me, it's not that I lost. I'm happy. I'm a happy dude. But I think I can see how those things affected me a lot. Would I change them? Hell no. I love what I went through. I'm glad I went through some of these things. I wouldn't be where I'm at now. I'm confident in myself. I'm rooted in Christ. I found a beautiful woman. I understand godly principles. I'm around godly men. I'm happy to know a bigger purpose that I have, So all of the stuff that occurred, I don't like it when people say you went through an old past, you got to erase it. I mean, the old past makes you.
Absolutely.
You wouldn't get to who you are if you didn't go through that stuff.
Yep.
Yeah.
I completely agree with that. When I was younger, I used to want the whole idea of time traveling, and people asking you the question, I'd be like, yeah, I want to go back and change. And I've gotten to a point where I understand that if I changed anything in the past, I wouldn't be who I am today. And I think we need to teach young people to be grateful for the struggles they received. Or at least,
James.
Take every struggle with pure joy, for it completes a good work, right, to sanctify us. So absolutely. I'm going to do a follow-up question, though. I had it in front of me and then I flicked it. Oh, okay. The world today is constantly shifting. what, and telling you what to be, who you are, what keeps you as a man continually grounded in the identity you have reached today?
My servitude towards Christ right now. And I think moving forward, being his image, thinking like him, seeing everything through his lens allows me, doesn't matter. So for example, my fiance and I get into a fight. Where do I see Christ in this? My fiance and I have a happy day. Where do I see Christ in this? Me and my fiance need to talk about finances, future progress. How are we going to do it so we're fulfilling the kingdom of God? And to some people, they may look at that and hear that and they quite don't understand what that means. But to simplify it is, if we're fighting, if me and my fiance fight, I'm like, if we fight and we don't reach an outcome where he would be in the middle telling us what we're doing wrong, then we're going to go to bed not liking each other. And then we're going to build a resentment that day, that moment, that time. That's going to get locked in. And then you're going to wake up in the morning. And if we haven't cleared it up, you're going to probably marinate or let it ruminate about how much other things that I do annoy you. And then it goes on and on and on. And then you run into a friend that says, hey, because now you're just in this energetic level of, I'm not happy with the man that I'm with at that moment. And you run into a friend because the other guy is out to destroy you. And you may run into that friend and, hey, I have a thing tonight. You want to come out? For some reason, you became available. And then you go to that thing and you meet an old ex that you dated. And you're like, oh my God, it's meant to be. It's fate, you know? So it's that type of stuff. So it's like, if you don't find it there, okay, cool. That's one example. Then let's go to finances. Great. All right. We both have a $3,000 check. How are we gonna use this? Oh, well, we need to buy this thing for the home. This thing. No. How are we gonna use this for like 10 years from now, 100 years from now? What if we have kids need to do something and they need to pull from somewhere? How do we have that? How can we be strong enough to do that? And we sit there and think like that. We're like, oh, well, we would need to do this, this, and this. And that only comes from just a bigger wisdom understanding. I think if we needed to create a legacy where we can supply our generations to come, we need to look to something higher and more powerful that thinks beyond us right now.
Right.
So how can we reach that? How can I touch that source? We pray, you know? So we're constantly doing things like that. And as I've mentioned already, I know to some people, they're gonna be like, what? That sounds weird. But I'm like, it's, once you're in it, you're no longer seeing things the same way. At least I don't. At least I try. You're in this room full of multiple different trees, and that tree has different rooting wiring system, and it takes different, it sucks water differently than that one. And that's an incredible design that nature has. And that design had to been methodically planned out. So when you start stepping back and be like, dang, it's everywhere.
So you're saying even nature looking at nature grounds you into your understanding of your relationship with Christ?
Yeah, I'm just saying that because I want to see everything from that lens means everything is well planned, well designed, and I need to, if I'm going to be a part of this well planned, well designed, well, what do I need to do? How do I need to construct myself as a well planned, well designed machine? If marriage is a thing and I'm one and I become one, and then that's a well planned design, because it says in Genesis that man needs this person, so I made him for you. Okay, that's a well designed thing. Then everything I'm looking at has to be a well designed sort of system.
Mm-hmm.
So now I walk around with, okay, why am I here? How do you want me here? How do you want me to serve? How do you want me to do this? What questions do you need me to ask? Where do I need to go? I envy some of those people when I see online and they're like, God told me to get up and go walk to the beach in the morning and collect 5 seashells and then wait for me there. And I'm like, what? And all of a sudden they continue on their story and they're like, and then a homeless man came up to me and then I did this and then we're friends for 30 years. And I'm like, dude, as much as I'm like, oh, I want that, maybe I'll just currently at the moment get good at understanding I'm a well-designed type of machine until he actually physically knocks on my door and says, hey, now I have a plan for you. Does that make sense?
No, look, man, I've heard some great stories throughout my walk of people going to like airports because God told them to and getting a plane ticket and going to whole different countries. That's great. I don't know if that'll ever happen to me, and I don't know if that's about thing about faith. I just think that our story, everybody's stories, is curtailed to them, and the way God speaks to you is curtailed to you.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And so God speaks to me through nerdy things.
Yeah.
Mara, the dreams I've had and stuff like that. I'd probably get quite a few laughs from my Instagrams and stuff like that if I started to talk about like how God talks to me, because he talks to me through the stories and stuff. There's been summers where I was depressed and God's like, go watch this anime. And I watched the anime and I'm like, by the time I'm done watching it, I'm less depressed. He's like, are you feeling better? And I recently did something on TikTok and I talked about like the Lord talking with Elijah. Elijah's depressed. I want to kill myself, Lord. He had just come from a victory. He called down fire, like he all the people of Baal are thing, but now he's being chased and everybody wants to kill him. And so he's gone from a victory from the highest mountains. Now he's depressed. And he's like, I want to die. And the Lord's like, go take a nap. And then the ravens bring him food. Here's a snack. And then he starts listening, and then the Lord goes in a whisper, are you feeling better? And he goes, and Elijah gets up and he's like, okay, I'm feeling better. And he walks away because God knew that's what Elijah needed.
Right.
So how much more in this world of more than 8 billion people does God know each and every one of us to legitimately speak to us in a way that it speaks into our story and that we will hear it? We're terrible at communicating with each other, and God's perfect with communicating with us. It's just, are we listening? Are we thinking it's a voice in our head? I think that's something that I'm struggling with less, but I still struggle with. I'm like, is that you or is that me?
Yeah, you just test it.
I'll give you a recent example. So flying home for Denver, we keep getting messages that our flight is going to be massively delayed. I need to get home, my dog. I have to plan for this week. I have to contact you. And the Lord's like, I hear this voice in my head. I got it. Don't worry. I said, yeah, whatever. And so we're chilling at the hotel waiting to go to the airport. And I got another message about changing my flight. And then the internet's like, no, you can't change it anymore. I'm just like, I'm stressing out. I told my wife, I said, can we just go to the airport and see if we can fix this? Okay. The Lord's, we're on a train back. So you can take a train from the Denver airport to the Denver city. So we're back on that train. The Lord's like, hey man, I got this. Really, don't worry about it. And I'm stressed. My wife's like, I'm sitting behind my wife on the train, just stressed out. I tell her, I'm still a bit stressed. And I said, but God said she got it. He's like, you should probably listen to him. So we get up to the counter at Southwest and we're talking with the guy. And he's like, hey, there's an earlier flight. There's only 4 seats left. Would you like them? You like 2 of those seats? And we're just like, yeah. The guy gives us a seat. And then here just in enough time that if we go through security, we'll get there as we load the plane. There's a subway underneath Denver Airport, and it is slow as all get out when you really need to get somewhere. I hate Denver Airport. It's just so large. So we're on the sub. We're like 10 minutes late. I'm like, all right, now we got to run. We're struggling. We can't breathe already because we're in Mile High City. We've already been struggling with adapting. We're running across the airport. We get to the door, and they're not even on our number. And my wife's like, see? Okay. Now here's the bonus. I was faithful to listen and go there. And through my stress, the Lord's still telling me it's okay. I'm working on being, even now I work on being with God to be more trustworthy.
Right.
We sit down and our seats are the highest version of the seats. There's no first class on this thing, but they're like the super business class with extra leg room. Mm. Those are our seats. So not only did God provide, he gave us the upgrade because of faithfulness, right? We did it anyways. We left early. I trusted him. Was I questioning him the whole time? Yes. As children question their parents.
Right.
Well, when am I going to get my cookie? Where's my cookie, Mom? When am I going to get that toy? It's the same thing.
Yeah.
Where just the priority is shifted to like, I need to get on that plane, Lord. I need to get early. And so it really is, even as we grow and we become more faithful on this journey, there's still going to be points where we question. I'm working on it. It's always going to be on work until the day I die. It's always going to be, I'm working on it. And sometimes here's the simple one. Sometimes I hear the Lord saying, get off at the freeway on the next exit. And what happens when I don't listen? I hit traffic. But when I do listen and I get off, I get home early. Even in the small things you were talking about, that what should I be doing now? It's also that aspect of listening into those moments and discerning the voice that's speaking to you when the Holy Spirit is speaking to you. And I don't know, for those who get easier, I wish I knew the fast track for that.
Yeah.
But for me, it's a continual process of being faithful to listen and to discern what's in my head, because I'm always in my head, versus when God's in my head. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So
when it comes to your journey, I love how you always talk in quest and journey. I think I've shared with you that I'm a big fan of how you laid out sort of your guiding principles of, I don't know how else
it's my coaching methodology.
Correct.
Reframing the world into, I'm a nerd, all right? I love role-playing games and video games, and why not the world? We're always upgrading our skills and stats. We're always on a journey somewhere, and the things that get us to the levels we want to be are quests, right? And we've talked about this, right? So your quest right now is to get all the skills you need before you get married.
Right.
And you're ticking boxes, and every time you feel like you've achieved, like you really feel like you've gotten that treasure, and you put that tool in your belt, and you're ready, and you're getting closer and closer to marriage, but you're gearing up for it.
Yeah.
And every time you hit that quest and you complete it, like we like completing things.
Yeah.
But what's more fun than completing a quest? Those are the stories we like.
It's the journey.
It's the journey. We like that. So
we can't help it, but yeah,
it's like it's ingrained.
We hate it and love it, because there is a part of us that's going through the journey, and it's like, I don't like this, and then when we finish, we're like, oh my God, I like this, and then oh crap, another part at level 3 or whatever.
It's like the gym.
Yeah,
we're both on that fitness journey.
What I was going to ask you, actually,
the
newest. Something you've always been wanting to do is grow your media system, and you started filming a lot, and you're testing this filming. What has filming yourself, especially now, what has that taught you about you?
Well, people think I'm an extrovert. Let me start with there. Let me start at the point that all my friends who don't spend a lot of time think I'm a natural extrovert. When I'm out and about, I'm always talking and things. That's very forced. I'm very much an introverted person. I re-energize when I'm away from people. I don't like big groups. Going to amusement parks is extra draining for me. Despite that, I've learned to live to be a communicative person. My whole first degree is because I was such an introverted person. I got a degree how to communicate with people. I literally got taught how to communicate better, whether it be speeches, whether it be in a room. Now, being on a camera puts me on focus, right? So I have to have a conversation with the person on the other end. So who am I speaking to? And it's a draining situation in the sense that I have to be extroverted in front of that camera, but it has to be curtailed, right? I have to reach somebody or something,
right,
so that they can hear the story, so the story can relate to them.
Right.
The thing I've learned, the biggest thing, let's chevron it down to the biggest thing, is that I have to be okay as a perfectionist with it not being perfect, and sometimes with not getting the message not coming across the way I planned it.
Mm-hmm.
So there's sometimes I'll produce something, very much so with my Instagram where I'm doing the car videos, which sometimes I'll do it once and I'll just put it out.
Yeah.
Whatever it looks like. But today's actually was I did it once and I felt okay, that's good, and I just put it out there. When other days I do it 3 or 4 times.
Yeah.
And still the last one, I still don't like the last one.
Yeah.
And I still I'll go with that one and it'll be like, here, it is what it is.
Yeah.
So there's a grace I have to give myself to tell and impart the things I want to tell. So I want to impart something to somebody who's listening to me. And I think video is the hardest way to do it. If I'm preaching or if I'm speaking to a crowd, it's much easier. I can adjust as I see people in front of me. I'll gaze at somebody, I'll look at the face, I'll take the temperature of the audience. I don't have that at all in front of the camera, right? So I was never taught how to do that. Trust me, I've acted a lot. I've been on stage productions, but it's different in front of a camera because you'll never know how that reaction or what the reaction you get. And you kind of start to understand why movies refilm certain aspects because there's an emotion that needs to get across. And you record hundreds of people and you produce thousands of videos. You know that there's certain parts you cut out and there's certain parts you emphasize so that your audience can draw near to you.
Right.
And ultimately, well, it really depends on why you're doing it. For me, I'm doing it to build up people. And so like one of my first TikToks is a carousel that says, hey, if you're not here for the message, there's thousands other things to entertain you out there. I'm looking for people who are literally going to continue. I know right now I've gone from when I first started from 25 to 50 people to a consecutive 600 people watching. That's 600 people who are listening to wisdom, who are taking what I have, who are finding something that's going to push them forward or build them up.
Right.
And that's the goal.
Yep.
If it gets to 1,000, great. If it gets to 10,000, fantastic.
I love that.
If I wanted to get to 10K to 50K, I could be a bad news machine.
Yeah.
I know what's out there. I know how to do it. I have friends who have turned their YouTube or their podcast or their thing into a bad news machine.
Yep.
And get people to come and listen. Yes, I know what's going on there. I know there's a lot of negative things. I know, but how am I being the salt?
That's what I was going to.
Right. I have this great podcast episode from my first season. What type of salt are you? The salt you don't want to be. And I mean, there's tons of different, but the salt you don't want to be is the one trampled underfoot. Because the one that tramples underfoot, it's not just flavor, right? I think the English word that we use there where Jesus is talking really doesn't emphasize what he means. It's like the purpose of salt. If you're not doing what salt is meant to be, and salt is meant to heal, salt is meant to cure, which means to stop the things from rotting and it's also meant to clean. If we're not curing, cleaning, and the least thing that salt does is bring flavor to a dish. Right? If we're not doing those other 3 things and we're only bringing flavor to the party, are you really being the salt that we're called to be? Or do you deserve to be just trampled underfoot? Spilt on the table and who cares, swept into the trash, right? Because the more precious and the more enriching the salt is, the more the world values it, right? There's 10 different types of salt. Check this out. The most valuable salt in the world is bamboo salt. In order for bamboo salt to exist, it must be burnt in a furnace with bamboo over 10,000 degrees for a long period of time until it is enriched by that bamboo. The fiery furnace that Christianity has called us to do is to continue to enrich ourselves, just like that bamboo salt is enriched by the fiery furnace of bamboo. We too, Christians, are enriched by the fiery furnace of our Christian walk so that we can enrich people's lives and cause the degradation of not only society, but of other people's lives around us.
That's so good.
So that call to be salt is not just flavor. I think it's a very poor translation in the word. I think it's a very poor understanding. Jesus really is like, you're not doing what salt is meant to do. And it, even back then, it was a precious commodity. It's not as big a commodity as today. You really the stuff that's the commodity is the more rare stuff. But we Christians are supposed to be a commodity. We're supposed to bring such change that we're either wanted around or smell like death and are wanting to be forced out. Right? We're either people are like, I really need you, or why are you here? I really don't want you. There is no, if you're living in the middle ground as a Christian, there's a problem. Because are you having any other than flavor? Are you doing anything? Are you like lukewarm water? Right? So like lukewarm water doesn't really clean anything. It doesn't heal wounds. Cold water is, I would, please be cold. Cold water is refreshing. Cold water tampers down lukewarm water, and cold water is where you're supposed to start things to become boiling. You're not supposed to start it in lukewarm. There's a chemical reaction that happens from cold to warm that doesn't happen from lukewarm to hot.
Interesting.
It's like there's a creator who designed this to be so that when there's a lesson taught about it, I mean, it's just so interesting that there's a lesson taught about it that it relates.
Yeah.
Right.
That's good.
So that's what I learned, right? Going back, sorry to bunny trail. Going back is to be gracious to myself and to be brave, right? Yesterday's video talks about Link from Zelda building courage. It's every video I put is building courage. The video I posted last night is me building courage because it's hard for me to post because I'm an introvert. It's hard for me to put myself out there for other people to hear because I'd rather just do it in a small setting, maybe with a glass of tea.
Or do you think we're not receiving the validation that we once? This was something that I had to understand for myself. I think we both know Jeremy. So Jeremy, I've shared this story before, but Jeremy invited me into a group, and in this group, something that he said to me clearly was, "There's no need for you to perform." I didn't understand that, and then as soon as I was in the group, someone shared something about that they were struggling with, and I decided to share my wisdom about that situation, like, hey, and offer my help. And I did that. Jeremy had a conversation with me later saying, hey, I request that you don't do that. And I was like, why can't I do that? And I actually got mad at him. I got mad at him for him telling me I can't help. And then he shared an analogy to me. He's like, basically, you're helping somebody that is not necessarily struggling in that area. I think this group isn't intended to be men that can be at this level of vulnerability and not need some sort of helping. And then he turned it around on me. He's like, I want you to ask yourself, where is the help? Who is the help actually satisfying? And I was like, what do you mean? And I then got to the root of it. And I was like, by me helping him, I'm going to feel good about myself. I'm going to feel I'm worthy in that group of guys because I am here posturing that I can help you.
That's our entire society.
So when you film yourself and the camera doesn't give you the eyebrows, the handshakes, the high fives, that sounds good, and you're by yourself, you only have yourself to listen to. And you have to either believe it or you're full of shit. Or you're putting on that mask. You're wanting to say something because you think that's what the world wants to hear. But in reality, you're like, wait, do I really believe that? So there's a fumbling that occurs. I think when people finally are convicted, they're truly convicted. They're like, no, I want to talk to you about courage today. I want to, you know what I mean?
I think it really depends. I don't think that's everybody. I really think it depends on where you're coming from. So when I first started my journey, actually it was you and another person,
Josh.
You and a sixth grader that convinced me to move on to video.
Yeah.
Because the Parliament Raven podcast started in 2021. And that was a friend continually nagging me to get on the mic. They're like, you have something to say. Get on the mic. You have something to. I heard that for 2 years until I finally said, fine. I will put myself on a mic and I will say something.
Yeah.
And I did that. And it was me just talking, right? I don't have to worry about what I look like. I don't have to, we're just going into my garage where it was quiet. Sometimes it was extremely hot. Turn on the mic, start recording. Moving from there to 4 years later to video, I had to think of, okay, what I look like, and now what are they seeing? How are they relating to me that way, not just my ears? I've never gone to this to get a clap on the back or a handshake. I tell people how I see it. I get just as many boos as I get as many applause, which is fine. I'm not everybody's cup of tea. Some people like green tea, some people like Earl Grey. I'm more of the Earl Grey. I'm going to be dark, I'm going to be bitter sometimes. Take me with a spoon of sugar, you might like me. That's fine, right? There's some people who come on here and they want that response. So the same student who got me, like you, to go move on to YouTube and stuff, he's like, why don't you do in the day of your life of? And then I have other students who are like, why aren't you doing this TikTok dance? Ultimately, I'm not on the internet to entertain people. That has never been my goal. If you find me entertaining, fantastic. Sometimes I'll produce an episode that I find entertaining, but it's still going to be nerdy knowledge. It's still going to be something that's going to push you forward or equip you. It's just what I talk about. It's what I love to do. If that's not connecting with you, okay, there's that guy with 10 million people following. You can get lost in that crowd over there. He's going to do your TikTok dance. He's going to run down the street and grab somebody's food and knock it up. That's not going to be me. I want people to join or to listen to me because they like what I have to say or they like the topic I'm talking about. If you don't, if I'm not, that's fine. It's why I haven't become this massive success, right? I'm not bending to the will of the audience. The audience will find my audience, my tribe will find me.
What was the switch?
Never been a switch. That's always been like
what was the switch to say, okay, I'm gonna do video?
Oh,
like I know we suggested
I wanted just to expand who got the knowledge, and knowing that a vocal podcast has a very limited range unless you're famous first and foremost, or unless you already have a built-in audience. So if you go on to Apple or Spotify.
So you basically saw the benefits from video, but you just kept going. I was just wondering if there was a Jason that looked himself in the mirror and said, I'm okay with who I am.
Oh, that was way before the video. We talked about that whole identity thing and understanding the value, right? So I talked about Dan Tachini, and his thing is called The Revenant. It's intense. Like, it really is. I'll open up a little bit about that. I was there and I was called out for having a mask on. All your knowledge is just using you to mask up. A guy there, by another Jason there, said it was his robot because he was doing the same thing. And so,
yeah.
And don't get me wrong, it still comes up, but I cried for 3 days. It felt like I was dying. So I never understood what dying to myself meant.
Oh, so good.
Until I was in a situation where I had nothing to support me, that nobody would allow me to hide behind my mask, and they would call me every time I was doing it. And so I haven't even burned the journal. I will one day. I had me writing it in there in like this massive scroll. It's not huge, but what I mean massive is I was just quickly scrolled, like the diary of a mad person who's about to die. And it tells why I'm weeping. Every day I'm weeping. The pages are tear stained. I didn't know how to cope with the concept of I had value. And really what it was me having to let go of the idea that other people gave me value. And I had come to that place before we even met. When you met me, I was recouping from that. I was raw. I had no defenses. Matthew McConaughey talked about him doing ayahuasca and him coming back like that. I didn't even need that.
Yeah.
I had a strong Christian leader and a bunch of founders and businessmen who were just brutal.
I've been going through that.
And dealing with that, it was the hurdle that I had been trying to deal with since I was 18, 16, 17, 18. I have old poetry books that are now gone that talked about the masks that I couldn't take off. And at one point in your 20s, you just got like, I'm tired of talking about this. I can't do nothing about it. And it wasn't until later that I was able to.
I guess when I was sharing earlier, when people tend to get on that camera, that's my job, is to
pull the mask off. And, we speak from perspective of what we deal with, right? So if that's all you see, you think maybe most people are like that. So I've seen it the opposite, where people share too much.
No, correct. They share too much.
I'm just like,
outside of here, or not even. So there's a defense, like, I know individuals, cameras are off. The individuals are just like, life just kicked them in the face on all angles. And it's just they're telling me. And then they tell the camera, then the camera goes on and everything's perfect. Buy my thing. Trust me. Believe in me. I have the right thing.
I think.
And then it's incongruent.
I think that comes with our Christian. A lot of the people we know have a Christian upbringing, right? And here in America, we have this idea of what Christianity is supposed to be. You're supposed to be perfect. And I see churches as hospitals. I think the problem is that people see, like, you go to church and now you're supposed to be all better. And we forget that on a journey, like when you're wounded, it's going to take a while for you to recover. You break a limb, it's not going to be instantaneous. Your limb atrophies. You have to take off the cast, and then you have to start doing the workout. And it's painful because you haven't moved it in certain ways in certain times. And in order for muscle to build, you got to tear muscle, and then muscle rebuilds, and you're going to have sore. It's the same thing with our Christian walk. The old man dies, but I have to have my wife remind me when I'm being like that old guy, that the one that's dead, because sometimes he'll like to peek up his head, and I'm getting better at catching myself, and I'll question myself. Well, why? The good question that I ask myself is, why did I respond that way in that group? Or why did I talk too much about this versus just being quiet and listening, or just responding when talking to? And I learned that when I'm more stressed or more exhausted, I have a tendency to fall into older habits. And learning to mitigate that is now where I'm at. But at least that's where I'm at.
Yeah.
Right. I could still be just putting up the mask.
Right.
I still could just be getting the robot to go and being the Academy Award winning guy who's okay with anything.
And always be smart or whatever.
But the reason why I do the videos the way I do it, someone asked me, why do I do my weekly recap? No one watches that. Well, you'd be surprised, but that's for me to maintain accountability with myself.
Correct.
I don't post those. I post, yes, and I create all sorts of anime pictures of me succeeding. Why? Not for anybody but me.
Yeah. It's like, why do you have to show it? There's something to that where it's like, I hope that some see it and they can relate.
I'm just like, I'm doing it for me. And if those specific Saturday videos, if that makes somebody do their week or feel like they succeeded in their week, then that's so much the bonus.
Yeah.
But it keeps me real. Like when I have these discussions with people, it keeps me real, because I can say, for instance, if you saw me not post one, I'm going to get a DM from you and you're going to go, where's your video? Yep. Why haven't you done it?
Where have you been?
And I'm going to go, probably the response is, I probably haven't been to the gym.
Yeah.
Right? That would be the response. Or you would be like, Jason, there's one or two things. You're going to know that I didn't go to the gym and I'm not or you're going to know, or something major's happened.
Something happened. Yeah.
And that's the only reason I do those videos. And sometimes I'll add, I've been playing with them now.
Yeah.
I'll add some words of advice or something, and maybe it'll hit somebody somewhere where they're struggling. But that's the only reason I'm not making anything from this. I think people think like I'm trying to become this. My students think I'm trying to become. Why haven't you become big, Mr. Rodriguez? What are you going to do when you? I'm just like, if I become big, I become big.
It's a byproduct of.
It's a byproduct of the journey. If I can.
But I like that you test. The thing about you is, I know you personally. Not only you're like a humble, good dude, but there's a spectrum to you. You're very knowledgeable. You're very respectable. You're a good guy. You're a good husband. And when you can be around that type of person and then see and they're also pushing themselves and getting uncomfortable, it's like, that's dope. And
well, let's talk about let's talk about marriage real quick, because
the stuff that you share.
I want to let you know that, and I think people should know this. The marriage is a struggle sometimes.
Oh, for sure.
I
believe it.
There's been when we worked together at the same school for 10 years, and there'd be times that we'd wake up and we'd argue.
Yeah.
And then we'd have to go to school and we'd have to teach.
Oh.
And we had classrooms, right? So we would see each other between periods, and it'd be like a glare back. But I think that you bring up the point of handling stuff before bed, right? Solomon said, don't let the sun go down on your anger.
Yeah.
And nominally, if you can do that, and I'll pass this on from one guy to another, if you can do that continually in your marriage, even if you have to be the one who's always engaging with
disengage it. Yeah. To disseminate it.
To disseminate it, then I think that is a way of showing your love.
Yeah.
Because I think we forget, if Christ is love, but I think we forget that as humans, we have to choose love. Love is a choice for us, right? Love is who God is, and we're an image of that. But because of who we are and what we are and where we're at in existence, we have to choose love. Marriages end because people choose not to love each other. We're still friends. I hear that a lot, but we're still good friends. I said, you chose not to love each other. You chose to love someone else and be friends with somebody else. If Christianity taught that love was a choice that has to continually be chosen, how much different would the church be, and how much stronger would our marriages be? Because we talked about this while you were setting up. A wife who is argumentative, it is better to have a wife who is better to live in the corner of the roof or in the desert than have a wife than live with a quarrelsome wife. But the concept is you're still living with the quarrelsome wife. Mm-hmm. And people go, and divorce comes up with Jesus, and Jesus goes, you only have divorce because of your hard heart. Love stops when you harden your heart towards someone. Mm-hmm. Hate or anti-Semitism, we can go through the list, right? Anti-anything begins when you harden your heart towards something about someone else. Mm-hmm. But if you choose to love them despite that, that's when you're showing Christ to other people. Mm-hmm. And let's not get me wrong, that doesn't mean accepting the thing you don't like about them. Mm-hmm. It means accepting them with that thing you don't like, that you can stand to be around them despite that. Mm-hmm. And it means that, and maybe you're not the person to talk with them about it or adjust them about it. Maybe you're just there to be like, I'm okay with you. And maybe that will open ourselves up to hear from somebody that's not you. It's that whole concept of planting the seed. Sometimes we plant the seed by just being there. And I think that sometimes we get too harsh with the whole concept of pointing out people's misgivings or their sins. Conviction doesn't come from man, but conviction comes from the Holy Spirit in Christ. So yes, we're supposed to call it out. Absolutely. I'm not saying we're not. But is that your calling, or are you just doing it because you're told that's what we're supposed to be doing? And that's that whole discernment issue, right? Well, let's tie this into the video thing. Are you making videos because you're called to do it? Or are you making videos because you're looking to fulfill a hole in your heart? If you're looking to fill a hole in your heart, what are you going to be searching for? I need the clicks. I need the comments. And for me, I don't need that. The problem is, since I don't need that, I'm not apt to try to call for it. So for me, one of my next steps is to try to get people to engage with me more. I want people to engage.
Mm-hmm.
Just because you're watching is cool, but wouldn't it be cooler if someone said, "Hey, this is how it's affecting me," and I could also be like, "Well, keep on going," and like encourage them that way too.
Yeah.
Like in the comment section.
Yeah.
So for me, part of my next evolution of at least some of my videos is to try to do a call out to be like, I want you to please engage more.
Yeah.
Send this to somebody so they engage. But I also want you to make a comment. Like,
Yeah.
is this affecting you? Let me know. Do you want more of this? Do you want more of that? Like,
oh, I should have shared. Yeah, the Elijah story. Really, I love that one. It's recent. It's the one that I'm pretty sure I've liked a lot of your stuff. I like more of your story-based theology and how it relates to you or how it relates to a friend. I think for me, when it comes to content creation, I want to get really good at telling the stories. I know how to tell long-winded stories, or I have to fill you in with so much context just so you can understand the main thing. And lately, I don't care about views. Correction. I care about the views. I don't care so much right now that that's the main thing that I want. I want to get comfortable in front of the camera. So when you meet me, you're like, dang, you're the same guy. You're the same dude on the camera as you are in person.
I really like how raw your videos are right now, though.
Appreciate that.
I can see that the struggle is real and you capture that. And I think that's good, man. I think that needs to be seen more, whether people understand that or not. There are people who need to see that. You just got to, your audience will find you, right?
Yeah, that's it.
So it'll be great when you can go back and be like, look at the journey.
Yeah.
This is me then and this is me now. Having you sit in front in your place and set up the video and you talking there, and it's what people don't know is you're totally smooth when you're not in front of the camera. You're eloquent, you're smooth, you're comfortable, but you turn on that light, you hit that thing, and something, all that turns off for some reason. But we see you now as that's whatever switch that is, it's like you're dismantling it. And that journey is so cool for me to watch. And I think that when you get to the other side, you kind of miss that. For me, I miss some of the raw stuff I had, right? It's much easier now to know how to flow in front of the thing, that it's kind of like sometimes, and there's a struggle not to become fake on the mic.
Correct.
So my audience doesn't know like how many podcast episodes I've had to throw away because I feel that they're fake. And no, if you listen to them, you'll be like, yeah, that's fake. Because I'm trying to produce something that's, what's the word?
Original.
Doing original stuff is difficult too.
Genuine, authentic.
Genuine and authentic from your material, but not so scripted, right? So it's much, for me,
but also the sound,
it's difficult to have a discussion with yourself.
Yeah.
And still stay authentic.
Yeah.
Unless your emotion is raw at the time.
Yeah.
Right?
To call it up.
This is easy.
Yeah, because we're using each other.
We're bouncing off each other.
Yeah.
I think people understand that it's much harder to do it when it's by yourself.
Oh yeah, totally.
And I think
that's my goal, to have someone go through that process by themselves. Once they uncover all those things, then they could sit in front of the lens or the camera and just, I don't know what to say. Well, stay quiet. What do you want to say? It's like, I went through a hard day today. It's like, tell me about that hard day. And then it's like, that hard day sucked. But the good thing, being able to tell you, well, what did you learn about that good thing? I learned that this, and then you're like passionate, but this taught me this thing. And then I went from here, and I went and then realized this occurred. And then all of a sudden you realize, wow, I had so much of that. I just had to sit there a little bit, be still. I just had to be still for a second.
Yeah.
I like how you talk right now. There's no one seeing. I'm so excited when this is released because there's ticks that you do. There's movements that you have. There's this sort of like, you light up when you're in the pocket. You turn to me. You pivot your whole body, and you're like, this is, and then it says here and this, and it's like, that's the real Jason that I know.
You can't see it. It's really hard
So
to
when
see
you're
that
in the car,
it's really hard to see that in the podcast or the car, because
but in the car, I could tell you're like, whatever, you went through some curriculum, you got through the day, and you're just setting up. I've been thinking about a day, and I'm like, that's not the Jason I know. I know the Jason I know.
That is the morning Jason.
Yeah, exactly.
See, you don't know morning Jason. Morning Jason is in the car and he has 1,000 things going on, but you're literally getting when you see me in front of that car thing, 99% of the time, there's a 1% where you're not. 99% of the time, that's the thought that came into my head that you're getting.
Oh,
You're getting what's going on in here, and I'm just voicing it out so that if you're listening, you're getting it. So I was in Denver, and I told my wife I got to record a video, and we're walking, and I said right here, and it's the one that I said that you're looking up my nose, and I'm just like, I was just thinking it was a morning where there was fights amongst people. People were like passionate. It wasn't really fight. They were passionate, really passionate about the stuff they were talking about. And I wanted to get my audience to know that it's okay that passion to drive you and for you to continue to have that passion, because as we go through the grind of our daily stuff, it's like, I'm talking it's the middle late part of the week, we lose that fight, right? There's that part where you just lose it. And I'm walking through Denver and I'm just like, perfect, this giant building's behind me, let's talk about that fight, because that's what's going on in my mind. And it's a lot of that stuff I don't get to share with. I'm walking with my wife, but we're walking quietly. We're sipping tea. But this is what's going on in my head. I have 1,000 things going on in my head at once. Even now, there's probably 1,000 screens in the background going on. People are like, "That's how ladies think." I'm like, no. I'm like, we think that way too. Trying to get that out into something that's relatable is the hard part. Right? In the car, the driving disengages me from having the thousands of thoughts that I can think about that one thing.
It's a strategy. Yeah.
And so the strategy, that's why it's easy for me to produce those in the car.
Yeah.
Because
it's an actual thing, though.
Right.
You know, when you're driving, you're told to focus on the road.
And people are wondering if I'm looking at the camera. So it's rare that unless I'm at a stoplight, I'm not. The sunglasses are a great aid to let you know that I'm not looking at the camera and yes, I do that I do record these while I'm driving.
Yeah.
Some people I will literally tell you if I'm not driving, and you'll know if it's a different thing, because you won't hear the engine. Yeah. You won't hear the thing. And sometimes I won't drive my car because I don't want to lose my parking here. This is the first summer I'm completing these. Currently, last year I just didn't do them at all, but because of that environment, you're gonna get a different type of communication from me. When I'm talking with you, I'm talking to a real person, so I know that you're seeing my hand gestures and know that it's important that I can emphasize that. I can't do that in the car because I have to hold on to the steering wheel. I have to click the thing, and since it's so early in the morning, I'm much more subdued with my energy level. I've never been a morning person.
Yeah, no, I know. Well,
so most of my podcasts are recorded
in the morning.
It's
evening. Tough, dude. Even for me, I have to go for a walk, do something of movement before I'm like, all right, I'm ready.
Yeah. Well, I even the days I do workouts, I'm still, by the time I get to that car, I'm still not.
Yeah.
It takes me a lot to get my mind in a focused place where I can communicate well.
Yeah. Are your student fan base growing?
Only on TikTok.
Nice.
Well, I don't know who follows me on Instagram as much, but I went from 0 to TikTok to like 200, I think. I don't know where I'm at on TikTok. Maybe 100. Yeah, I don't know. But
still cool. Yeah,
I still got to be careful. I can't really contact them back or anything.
Yeah. I was going to say that was something I was very curious about.
There's a very so I have on Instagram. There's a private Instagram. The reason why my other Instagram is always my business Instagram. According to my contract, I cannot talk to students online, so I don't, which is fine. I've never
engaged in comments.
Never ever
Not even through comments?
I don't engage. They don't comment. Well, they comment on TikTok.
But you can't.
I can give a heart or a thumbs up, but I really can't
say
until
Wow.
they're 18 or out of high school. And even then, so I have students. Facebook used to be the thing to contact your teacher.
Wow, that's interesting.
And I've always had the policy that if you're under the age of 18 on Facebook, I would never friend you back.
Man, I want to teach.
I don't follow my students back.
That's good.
Until they're graduating.
Yeah, that's good.
I don't follow my students back.
Yeah, that's good.
There's been one or two in the past that I have, but that was more of a mentor relationship, and if they were in danger, they needed to contact me.
Oh, wow.
I gave them that ability as a mandatory reporter. So it was a safety reasons in the past that I've done that, and there's a lot of stories I could tell you about that, but those are not my stories to tell. So no. So to talk to the students, I don't. And yes, there's teachers who do, but I'm a stickler on discipline. So why would I break the rules for? So I live my life the way off camera as I would on camera, in school, out of school, when somebody's watching or not watching. I'm disciplined in that way to always be living the lifestyle in which I think, because if I don't, that's a betrayal of trust.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't understand people who say one thing and then it doesn't make sense. I want you to live this way, but are you living that way?
Oh yeah.
I
was like that.
I don't get that.
I was like that.
But that's
because I read this book actually.
Okay,
that's part of the reasons why I went down this route. I have a certain amount of books, but one of the books, self-justification. That's why.
Well, yes.
Presidents. There was the lady in this Audible that I purchased. Let me find the Audible so I say this correctly. Mistakes were made. That's what the book is called, but not by me. That's what that. And the very beginning of it is the whole
premise
of the book are these victim understanding. No, not victim, but why did I start it? There was a specific word that I looked for on the internet that led me to find this book, but I wanted to get more grounded on why human beings put on a mask and put on a front, and why do they hide themselves, and why do they do certain things. And that book came across, and in the very first chapter, a lot of it is about self-justification. They were able to construct something in their life that in their mind, everything that they do is okay, even if they're not doing it. Yeah. But they could tell you what to do, and they may not be doing it themselves.
Sociopaths do that.
Yeah. Yeah.
So no, I get
sociopaths, psychopaths, but regular people do that.
No, we do it all the time.
Yeah.
In order to self-affirm, we'll do things to also, what's the word? Sabotage ourselves. To prove ourselves right. We'll say something, and then our subconscious will help us do it to prove ourselves right.
Yeah, and they shared that too. They said, if you do it long enough, then it is going to become right to you.
Right. So I'm going to give you a question, though.
Okay.
Because this seems to tie into this. How did becoming a creator change you and how you view the world and your faith?
Oh, man. Well, I've been a creator for a really long time.
Correct.
So I think being a creative individual has really allowed me to explore all different things. I'm gonna say my truth. I was very into muses, and I love fashion, and I love Pablo Picasso and Leonardo da Vinci and biology and politics and all this stuff. So wanting to become very well-rounded helps me sit in moments and paint and draw and come up with this abstraction. So it's almost like I know this, so I can be abstract. So when I was younger, I was really fascinated with graffiti artists, but also at the same time Renaissance. And something they had in common was lust of the flesh, and how they looked at women and how beauty of the eyes. And then I'm a young teenage hormonal dude, and it's I like that stuff too. And then that sent me down that route. So when you say how does becoming a creator change my whole life, it's like a giant spectrum. At first it started there, and then it's like, oh well, I'm gonna do photograph because now I could capture light a certain way. Oh, but I need to study about light, and there's different lights and different colors, different moods. Okay, and then now you master that, but you're still using it for maybe things that you shouldn't be doing. And now I'm gonna try video, but then I'm gonna do music. I'm gonna add music to it. I'm gonna create. So everything from early on, I've been able to look at this world like I see the beauty, I see the bad, I see the good. I was good, bad, all of this, and now can I do it with the bigger purpose in mind? That goes back to now I know my design. Now I know I need to do something larger. If I'm here to shape, someone once told me, okay, I was talking to Josh, and I had this huge yearn to be extremely successful, just make it, quote unquote. As a man, we're taught you got to do all the things, you got to be this, you're gonna make it, you're the dude. So I'm like, I'm gonna make the app of this thing, I'm gonna build this thing. Goes back to, now that I'm a creator, I've done all these things, I know this amount of knowledge, I could build an app, great, I'm going to make it. And I've been living towards this this idol of making it, this Mar that is not second place Mar, that can prove to everybody that he's not a loser and has it all figured out. And I'm chasing that, right? I'm going after that. Josh sits me down and we got to know me. He was discipling me for quite some time. And then he goes, Mar, what if I told you God doesn't want that for you? What would you do? I was like, what do you mean God doesn't want that for me? I was like, what are you talking about? He's like, no, think about it. What if you're the pillar that allows the person 100 years from now that does that? And I was like, oh, snap. So that part shattered me. That was an identity that he got to break, that, wait a minute, God probably has me on a different assignment that I need to pay attention to this assignment. Maybe I'm not the person that is going to have this $100 million business, but I may begin rooted in Christ, behaving Christ-like, doing all the things. We have kids and they teach those principles to have kids, and they teach their neighbors, and they go into politics. They go, you know what I mean? So I know that question stemmed from how did becoming a creator change my life, but it's like I had to go through the bad, had to go through some good, had to understand my power, had to understand that my power is given to me. I had to understand that maybe my power of my own self thinking was like, that's not what you should be using this power for, to then go, okay, like, what is my real assignment? And in doing that, taking off all these other masks. And I was like, oh, so now I'm at a place where I'm confident, I'm comfortable in myself. I know what I'm meant to do. And I just need to share earlier what you said. I need to be that salt. And by being that, people are going to be like, wow, there's something different about you, dude.
So you would say that moment with Josh was a Peter Parker moment. I'm going to be a little nerdy, and Uncle Ben going, with great power comes great responsibility.
I guess so. Yeah. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So it's so interesting when someone brings a different perspective from the outside, and because we don't know what we don't know. It takes somebody from the outside sometimes to go, hey, have you thought about this? No, that's cool, man. I like the whole concept of you being a pillar. The way me and my wife would phrase it is that your ceiling is somebody else's floor. And so I think one of your questions was, what do I do to research material? What was it? You got it that there? Hook me up with that question, because I think it's a good time to address it.
Well, there's several ones. What sort of lens do you have on when you hear news about war? There's that one. Hold on. What's your favorite lesson you have shared on Parliament Raven? How do you gather material?
How do I gather the material? So if my ceiling is someone else's floor, then I should continue to learn so that I continue to raise my ceiling.
Oh, yeah, that's good.
right? Some people are satisfied, and it's okay. You can be satisfied with your ceiling. But if you're planning to use that to give somebody else a floor, you should never be, as a man, I'm not going to speak for women. I can't speak for women. As a man, you should never be satisfied where your ceiling's at.
I like
so
that.
I'm always reading, researching, listen to other people's research, discerning from what I know, and building my knowledge. And as a Christian, we should always be building and growing in our knowledge anyways, because the more we know, the more we can go before God and learn that we know so little.
Oh, this is good.
Because the more I know and then go to God and God reveals something, the more he shows me that I really don't know.
Yeah.
I really don't know. You think you know, but you really don't, son, which is great. I don't mind, because that means there's more for me to learn.
Yeah.
And I have a very big hunger to learn. So read a lot. I continue to have conversations with people. I unwind by learning stuff. So when I come home, I'll turn on YouTube and I'll see what people are posting that's educational. So if you look at my YouTube, it's not going to be a whole bunch of videos on, I don't know,
life, politics.
No, it's going to be like the Book of Enoch, or what's going on in this theological circle. Why did Chipotle fail? These are the economic reasons.
Yeah.
Or why is this succeeding? Why is Hollywood doing this?
Yeah, that's mine.
And looking at not only just patternal behavior. So one of the things that we have to learn as creators is business. I don't talk about this much. So the things I'm learning right now have to do with business. And I talked about learning, because I'm producing 2 books, how to produce those books. No one's teaching me this in the sense that I'm taking a class. Now, I have bought in some classes and read some books, of course, but I'm learning that. And what happens is as I learn it, people come and ask me about it. Mm-hmm. So I'm raising my ceiling so that I can share that knowledge with other people to do it, because there's enough readers in the world. There's enough people to coach in the world. There's enough viewers in the world that I'm not fighting you.
Yeah.
The person I'm fighting is me.
Yeah.
So I want to be better than Jason, who's going to be better in 5 years. The problem is, as Matthew McConaughey is, that guy's always going to be moving. Yeah. As I reach towards that guy who 5 year and beating that, he's still 5 years farther ahead, always.
Yeah, I remember him saying that.
So I'm always chasing that. Now, I make it my job to find out things that people don't know. Due to the fact that I'm interested in it. So,
but a lot of the stuff you share is very foundational.
And a lot of people don't know foundational stuff.
Okay.
So the reason I coach is because there's a lot of 20 to 40-year-olds that don't have foundation. If I knew what I knew now at that age, the 20 to 40-year-old, if I knew now, or someone taught me or invested in me back then, how much farther would I be?
Yeah.
So the frustrating thing that the whole reason I share what I share is I'm frustrated that I'm this far behind.
Yeah.
Which is fine. It's not that I'm not okay with that. I'm completely okay with who I am, where I am, and that I'm continually growing now. But I think about how much farther I would be. And if I share what I have with those, then how much farther will they be? And if I see them get what I didn't get at that age, and once I'm dead are 4 times as far, how much more are they going to get to invest in that? And the legacy that I build is that the impact that I give is knowing that somebody's going to be, when they're sitting at my age in this seat, talking with somebody else who's going to be sitting in your seat, if they are even twice as far as we both are while we're having this conversation, when they're having their conversation, then we have left a legacy that has improved the world and has brought the kingdom forth. Right? That's the goal. So that's the motivation to read articles, to read a book and find somebody else's opinion that doesn't agree with mine, to listen to people who are doing the same thing, but their perspective, right? So there are other people doing what I'm doing, but they're coming at it from a different angle than me, which is fine. Everybody needs to find their angle of how to do their journey, how to what the quest. Some people don't need the quest or the journey as their point of view. Sometimes they just need a bullet point or an assignment. Perspective is everything, and you need to find a perspective that matches you. So if I'm listening to somebody who's doing it from a different perspective, but I find that it adapts well to the quest or to the journey, I'm going to take it and I'm going to adapt it so that it becomes another tool in the toolbox that I can give people who are listening to me, to the nerdy people, to the quest people, to the book readers who are listening to me. I want them to take that and use it to get farther. Maybe they're stuck. Maybe they just need this. Maybe they need to hear that business is part of doing this, or that learning marketing is a part of publishing your own book. But you won't know. Some people don't have the time or the energy or the drive to do that, right? But they'll listen to a 30-second video that might push them in that right direction, or they might hear that snippet. Maybe I'll get them to stop, and that they know that their Christian walk is like Link in Zelda, and that's going to push them through today to just get through the day.
Yeah.
So being the whole reason I raise my roof and the whole reason I do that. Yes, I love it. I find it interesting. If I could get a doctorate in everything, I would get a doctorate in everything if I could afford it. But if I can give that back to people so that can't do it or don't have the motivation to do it, and they hear me and they grab it, then all the better. That's the reason. That's why I do the research and do that.
If you'd like to go deeper, the Parliament doesn't end here. We have a Patreon where you can access extended teachings, reflections, and tools. The conversation continues in our Discord, where seekers, creatives, and thinkers gather to discuss just about anything. And if you want gear for the journey, you'll find shirts, mugs, and more at the Parliament shop. All the links are in the description below. Thanks for walking the road with us. We'll talk again soon. Some ending music credits. Intro music by Russ Budgeon. Outro music by the Parliament Raven. Music arrangement by Sono AI.
Not failures. Bring your fears, questions, not mistakes. Bring your quiet fire.